This is the story of my painting, Last of the Pack. What seemed like yesterday was actually many years ago. I was in my early 20s supporting my 3 daughters with my artwork. I was displaying my art at an event in a local mall in Denver, Colorado. I was approached by a woman who was selling beautiful crystal pendants. Each one had a semi-precious gem attached to the front of every crystal, and the combination created a different energy with each piece. I was so curious and immediately drawn to one in particular. She said, "You don't need that one, it makes you more creative and gives you creative ideas." And I said, "That's exactly the one I need." And that's how my passion for the Wolf and the Nature Speaks series all started. That night I had the most vivid dream. I dreamt that I was standing on a ridge deep in snow in the forest on a moonlit night. The moon lit up the night almost like day. Nearby me was a black wolf looking into the valley below. He had beautiful golden eyes, yet he looked so sad and he seemed to be lost in his thoughts. He didn't even seem to be aware of my presence. The wind was blowing. As I looked to where he had his focused gaze, I could make something out in the mist in the valley below that looked like a pack of running wolves. This was the family, his pack that he had loved, lived with, and ran with. Now they were gone, hunted out by man, and he was alone. Questioning his life, he didn't understand why, and in his sadness, he didn't know how he could go on. Now I could see what he had saw and understood what he was feeling. I felt his pain so deeply in my heart. Then suddenly the dream changed, and I found myself standing in an art museum. There was a velvet red rope on 2 golden poles in front of this magnificent painting. The painted scene was of what I had just experienced. There was the black wolf and the wolf pack in the moonlit valley. When I leaned in to read the title, it read on a gold nameplate, "Last of the Pack" by Salisbury. It was all so real that it took me a while to come out of the dream. I was so deeply affected by it that it became my life's work to support and protect the wolf. Without the wolf, there is no balance in nature. What happens to the wolf happens to us all. And this began my journey into what was actually happening to the wolf, and began my series called Nature Speaks. And the second painting is Who's Moving In. My painting of Who's Moving In was inspired by the news in Denver in 1991. Cougars were living in the foothills west of Denver, where they have lived for centuries. People and developments had started moving into their lands. Soon the mountain lion and the wolves had nowhere to go. The population of people that had moved into the mountains and the foothills were feeling like these animals were moving in, when actually it was the other way around. Because of this, the mountain lion began being shot, trapped, or moved out of the area because of the people's fears. The wolf had been killed off already many years before, except for this one lone wolf in my painting of Who's Moving In. What is happening to the mountain lion and the wolf is what inspired me to give them a louder voice by painting this series of paintings that tells the story of their plight, to bring awareness to their situation in hopes that people will wake up and realize their importance to the balance of the natural world. In this painting of Who's Moving In, the lone female wolf sadly watches as man moves in, leaving nowhere for the wolf to go and disrupting the balance of nature everywhere. You can look into her tear-filled eyes and see the reflection of who's really moving in. The Denver skyline is mirrored in her eyes. Behind her, the ghost pack of her ancestors that she had lived with. They are still with her in spirit, and they are with her now to give her the strength and support to go on. The next painting in my series of 5 is titled On the Borderline. The 2 wolves from the previous painted stories meet. They are the last wolves in the territory. When they first saw each other through the trees, they thought they were seeing things, as they had not encountered their own species since they had both lost their families. As they grew to know each other, love and trust each other, they hunted together and protected one another, and grew in their confidence and strength. Nature and ancestral spirits watched from everywhere as this real-life drama unfolds. Wildlife and the Native American ancestors oversee this moment to watch and influence what will happen, as everything is going to be affected by what we decide as humans. Will we continue to manage Mother Nature, or will we respect her enough to let her manage herself? This painting represents the crucial moment we are at, where our actions as humanity will have resounding and possibly permanent impacts on the world we live in. We have to realize that we will be deeply affected also, as we are part of the ecosystem. When we separate ourselves from nature, we separate from ourselves. At this time, it seems this mated pair are still running on the borderline of continuing on or becoming extinct. Wandering deeper into the wilderness, will they survive and thrive? Or will we lose yet another species like these beautiful wolves? Their ancestors, the ghost pack, are running with them, supporting them, strengthening them, leading and guiding them to the place where man has not yet infiltrated and destroyed the wild habitat in this new, natural, and beautiful wilderness that they are on their way to now. In this painting you will find 7 eagles, 3 bears, and many ancient and wise ancestors. They have become part of the landscape, and they understood that everything that is here for a reason, not for a season. Each plant and tree, animal, bird, and bee all has a deep purpose. From here we move into the next exciting and happy new beginning, the return of the pack, followed by Wild and Free. Here is my 4th painting in the Nature Speaks series, Return of the Pack. The wolf pair has moved into a remote wilderness area where they are safe and free, bringing more balance and health to the area. The wolf helps to strengthen deer, caribou, and elk herds as they cull out the old, sick, and diseased, leaving only the very strongest of the strong. Everything is symbolic in this piece, from the clouds lifting off the mountains, symbolizing the storm or the battle for survival is over, to the double rainbows that are symbolic for new beginnings for the wolf. The wolf pair and their half-grown pups are running through the stream joyfully with renewed energy, life, and vigor. They are back to a new reality now, and nature's balance is regained. The only thing hidden in this painting is the naturally camouflaged fish swimming under the water. The 3 pups are already helpful as they have learned to hunt and support their family's pack. The wolves in our world have been driven to the edge, running on the borderline of extinction for over a century now, as they have been so feared and misunderstood. But now they have returned to bring back the balance in nature and repopulate their species. I pray that man does wake up and realizes the impact and consequences of his actions upon the natural world, and how the wolf is essential to the balance of nature everywhere. Without the wolf, our world will be lost. So above, so below. The final painting in this series is Wild and Free. Here is the story of Wild and Free. The beautiful black wolf from the beginning of our story, starting with Last of the Pack, and now we are at the happy ending in my 5-part painting series. As you look deep into this wolf's golden eyes, he is reflecting on the trials that he has been through and where he has made it to today. He had lost all hope, but he made it through it all to find his soulmate and help regenerate the wolf population. starting with his own family in the wilderness without the disturbances of man. I pray man does wake up and realizes the importance of the wolf and all species of the earth, the animals, the trees, the flowers, birds, and bees. Whatever befalls these things will befall man. Everything has a purpose. Our Creator created it this way. All creations work together. We have not inherited this earth, but we are borrowing it from our unborn children. This is a quote from Chief Joseph Chasinghorse. Since the age of 7, I knew what I was going to become, a full-time artist. My first subject matter was learning to draw horses, not easy at that age, but I taught myself, reading from a book that I bought for $1.25. I practiced all the exercises in the book, and I still refer to it today. When I was still very young, my grandmother used to sit with me and we would watercolor together. I remember her asking me one day, what was I going to do with my life? I said I was going to be an artist and grow plants, and I have never veered from this course. When I got a few years older, she let me use her oil paints, and we took a couple little classes together from a local artist. In downtown Pocatello, Idaho, I was commissioned to paint in the store windows at Christmas time. I did several of them and won a contest, and my artwork took off from there. I had thought about going to college to get an art degree. I went to an orientation at ISU, and they told me I would be learning the rules about how to be an artist. That was enough for me to say N-O. Not going to school to supposedly learn to be an artist. Who would think there would be rules to learn about art? Not for me. That's for sure. I didn't want rules to limit or taint my perspective. I am so glad I listened to my heart and my soul. Over the years, I have done shows from coast to coast and have had art galleries in Colorado, Wyoming, and Oregon. Each painting and sculpture that I do takes anywhere from months to years to create, as they are much, much more than just a painting or a sculpture, and each one has a message and a story behind it. I get my inspiration from dreams, exploring, and experiences, and I paint from my heart, and I never follow any trends. Instead, I set them. Do only what you love and what you're passionate about, and live adventurously. This is my motto. Thank you for following my artwork at www.LoriSalisburyGallery.com, and follow me on Instagram at Lori Salisbury and also on Facebook.